Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy Heroes. This is a Conquest video. The 17th Conquest begins on Monday, and what I like to do beforehand is just break these feats down, speculate on the squads that we're going to do, show you what my squads look like right now prior to the beginning of Conquest, and then plan out a strategy to be as efficient as possible because I try to avoid cheesing where I can. Now, if you want to see more specifics on what we actually do, then we'll do a day-by-day breakdown, and you can see the difference between what I anticipated using and what I actually ended up using and see if I was on target or not. Over on the Discord, I put together this image here of the various squads I will be using, a couple variations on each of them, and if they'll be utilized on a middle boss or final boss node. And this is the content that we're going to be focusing on with this video. We begin with the global feats, and just like as we saw with the last Conquest, we are now seeing a huge amount of overlap between the globals and the sector feats, which is really nice because it means we can deprioritize the globals and just go after the sectors because most of the globals are going to happen automatically while we do the sector feats. For a quick overview, we have win at least 15 battles with Merrick and Shin Hati. They can be lumped in with mercenary squads and unaligned force user squads to make progress on sector feats as well. Then we have attempt to inflict critical chance down. Not too many characters inflict that, but fortunately Night Trooper and Shin Hati, characters that we will be heavily using in this Conquest, do inflict those with an AoE. Also, CONQUEST as an unaligned force user will be using some as well, and if you have the Omicron, POW can do it, but that is an Omicron only debuff. Then we are looking at Night Sisters. We have a couple teams that can do that, and then Galactic Republic with just a ton of options there, but Cadme probably going to be beneficial on top of some other feats. And for the squads that I'm going to be utilizing during the globals, you see here my abbreviation system where G for global. I also have if it helps in Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 5. This is not comprehensive because we can only fit so many characters in these titles, but it's just a reminder. What we have here is a Great Mother squad with Night Trooper. That is going to help out particularly in Sector 1 as well, as we'll talk about in a moment, but we also have a variation in case stamina is getting low with Mother Telzine. Then the Dark Side Unaligned Force user, your best option will be a Inquisitor squad, Third Sister if you have her to make it even easier, but then there's going to be some other options like you can put together like a Kylo squad. Galactic Republic, my go-to is going to be Cadme, but in Sector 2 we need to inflict Armor Shred, and a JMK squad is going to be very effective at inflicting a lot of those armor shreds, and that's going to just help make those globals on the Galactic Republic just happen by the end of Sector 2. And then of course we have Shin Hati and Merrick. I think the most effective way, the safest way to do this is going to be under Sir Jundish because she makes characters so much more survivable, especially when they're at lower stars. And then you have CONQUEST, again helping with that global feat with the crit chance down. And we'll talk a little bit about this more in a moment, but you can also utilize them within a mercenary squads, and that'll overlap with Sector 1. With our Sector 1 feats, we have critical damage down 50 times, win 10 with Morgan, win 10 with mercenary units, and attempt to inflict blight 40 times. With crit damage down, we don't have a ton of options, but there are important overlaps with the characters that do offer it. Number one is going to be Dash Rendar, and with Dash Rendar, he applies it with an AoE with his ability Seeker Missiles, and that's going to make quick work of that. But also, we have Saw Gerrera, who is going to help if you happen to have Saw Gerrera ready on the final boss node here, where Luthen is going to be required to survive, so that's another option to complete that feat if you're not you don't happen to be done by then. Otherwise, you can look at Bastila Fallen or Paz. Chrysanthemum can help with mercenary feat as well, but he only has a single target, and then most players are going to have B2. And almost all of these feats, or actually all of them, can be completed with just 2 squads. The number 1 squad is going to be this Great Mother squad at the top. This accomplishes 2 sector feats and 4 feats total. We have Night Sisters, the global feat. We also have crit chance down, the global feat with Night Trooper, but then Morgan Elsbeth surviving, and we have Blight with the Night Trooper. The other squad that's going to be heavily used here, at least I hope, is going to be this mercenary squad with Dash Rendar lead, with Shin Hati and Merrick. That'll take care of the global feat there. Also help with the crit chance down global feat and the crit damage down sector feat. This also may be able to help help with the mini boss and the final boss, but that may depend on the specific makeup. Now, the only problem is when you have two squads that are this good at that many feats is they're going to drain through stamina super quick, which means you can't really utilize them as much as you would like, because if you do 10 battles, you're going to be out of stamina. So we're going to need to help them out with a little bit of support. There's a mercenary squad that you can do with bounty hunters. This is the version that I have set up. Chrysanthemum again helping with that crit damage down feat. And then you can also be looking at a different Night Sister squad or a Enoch squad that could be helping with Night Trooper. Also, Enoch is going to help with the mini boss, where the mini boss you need Death Trooper Paradia, or Judge Death as I call him, to help out there with the no attacker feat. You can do that with Night Sisters to help with a global feat, or there is another version that I have here with Jedi. And Jedi, there is also another no attacker feat in Sector 5. This will give you some flexibility. With the final boss, we have Merrick surviving and Luthen. With Merrick surviving, I have this hide the character feat squad with JML lead and Watt to force the taunt, and this Shin Hati slot can be swapped in with Merrick or any number of these feats. Like I think Hu Yang appears at one point. And with Luthen surviving, I'm using Saw, where Saw is going to help with the crit damage down. He'll probably be your best option for Luthen surviving, but of course you can do a Mon Mothma lead where she can do a revive. But depending on what the data discs are, Saw usually can do a ton of damage, especially with Amplify Agony. Also Dash. If we have Amplify Agony, Dash Rendar is going to be crushing a lot of these sector feats. With Sector 2, our feats are Potency up 50 times, Win 10 with Great Mother, Win 10 with Unaligned Force users, and Attempt to Inflict Armor Shred 30 times. With Potency up, that one's actually super easy. There's a ton of characters that inflict it, but 8th Brother and 5th Brother are probably the two that are going to help out the most, because they're going to overlap with the Sector feat with Unaligned Force users and the Global feat with the Dark Side Unaligned Force users. But an important character to be aware of this conquest is actually going to be Admiral Radis, because with Admiral Radis, that squad actually helps out with a number of sector feats, including Sectors 3 and Sector 5. So we will be returning to talk about Admiral Radis later, but it's an important squad to be aware of, because with the heavy stamina loads that some of these squads are going to take, being able to swap in a squad like Radis is going to help relieve that load, because we're already seeing the effects of that with the Great Mother feat coming just a day after, or a sector after, the Morgan Elsbeth feat. So we know that both of them are going to be reduced on stamina. So we will be needing to probably, if we want to maintain a pace, either being very careful with how we allocate and budget the timing of these characters to give them time to refresh stamina, or we need to be purchasing those stamina refreshes. Now with the Unaligned Force users, Third Sister is going to be our best option, but don't forget about a Seer Junda squad, which will be able to help out in the sector because it doesn't have to be dedicated dark side like the global feat does. But Third Sister is going to help contribute to the armor shreds, where she inflicts it with her second special when she has full health. But being aware that the light side version with the Seer Junda lead, that's also going to help contribute to Shin Hati and Merrick progress if we weren't able to finish them off during Sector 1. And it's probably in our interest not to overly rely on Shin Hati and Merrick during Sector 1 so that we can look to overlap their usage in Sector 2. And with Armor Shred, your best option is going to be JMK with Commander Ahsoka, Cam, and Under Kenobi, and General Skywalker as well, because you have Cat, Cam, and Gas all able to inflict that Armor Shred. You have JMK to refresh it so that they can get back to Armor Shred quickly. You have GK to protect them. And whenever we get those Armor Shred feats, this is my go-to squad. But you could also go with a Gas lead if your roster doesn't have JMK lead. With the mini-boss, we have defeat an enemy with Shin Hati and a full squad of Night Sisters. In this case, I would try and double up with the Sector feat, where you have Unaligned Force users with Shin Hati being an option, or you have Great Mother just being your Night Sister squad. Just be aware of it so their stamina isn't too low before you hit that boss. But also, if If unaligned force users aren't ideal, you can do behind the Shinhati under a JML and Watt squad. And this JML squad is going to be very helpful with the final boss feat, where we have defeat an enemy with Ezra and win a full squad with mercenary units. I would probably be doing the same thing with Ezra in this Shinhati slot with JML, where I would just swap him right in there. And with a mercenary squad, this squads we were talking about during Sector 1 is what's going to be most helpful. We have options dash, or with a bounty hunter version I have under Django lead. With Sector 3, we have accuracy down 50 times, win 10 with no leader, win 10 with Judge Death surviving, and attempt to inflict stun 50 times. Now, with accuracy down, this is another one of those debuffs that doesn't have a lot of contributors, but they do overlap heavily with characters that we are going to be utilizing in this sector. So we have 8th and 7th. They're going to be unaligned force users that help with that global dark side unaligned force user feat, but they're going to be low on stamina from Sector 2, so we need to be careful. But then we have Scout Trooper going to be heavily used, and then Cad Bane is going to be helpful. POW, that is with Omicron only. And the squad that I expect to utilize the most in this sector is going to be Zerg, the Dark Trooper Moff Gideon squad, where we have Scout Trooper, that's going to provide that accuracy down, along with Judge Death for win 10 battles with Judge Death surviving. And we have that revive with Dark Trooper Moff Gideon. And it's also going to help out a little bit because I do think we have a stun on with Scout Trooper, even though it's a single target. But stuns is going to help out most with this no leader. I have a Jolie lead, but it doesn't have to be, where Ayla, Jedi Knight Revan, and Jedi Knight Luke are all going to be able to provide stuns. Ayla does it on her basic, so we can call her in a lot. Jedi Knight Revan with the Mark ability, and JKL, of course, with the AoE. I would swap turns with Jedi Knight Revan and Jedi Knight Luke to get through the stun a little bit more quickly, and then JML there is to make sure that this squad actually wins its battles. And Jolie is, of course, here for insurance in case we lose anybody. Now that squad is going to do, or these two squads are going to do the majority of the work, but there's going to be a couple other that we can swap in as we do some of these mini bosses, like with Morgan Elsbeth surviving or mercenary units. That's on the middle boss. So again, we're going to be utilizing most likely a Great Mother squad to ensure the Morgan Elsbeth because she breaks a Telzing squad, but a Night Sister squad is a great squad for stun, so they could help out with stamina issues during Sector 3, especially because 50 times is a lot of debuffs. But with that other mini boss feat, we have Mercenaries, where Cad Bane does do accuracy down, but also provides a stun. So swapping in a Mercenary squad for that mini boss feat is going to also help towards those other sector feats. With the final boss, we have Padawan Sabine, and with only dark side characters, that's straightforward. The dark side characters, of course, your global feat, utilize Third Sister if you can, and then with Padawan Sabine surviving, most likely this JML squad where you can play hide the Sabine in the Shinhati slot under Watt, or not under Watt Tanbor, but alongside Watt to force the taunt onto JML. Our Sector 4 feats: speed down 50 times, win 10 with Night Trooper and Enoch in the squad, win 10 with Shinhati surviving, win 10 without losing any units. Speed down is going to be easy. A ton of characters inflict speed down. We have some options though that are going to help make this as efficient as possible. We see Night Trooper here inflicts it on his basic. Judge Death is pictured here. Be careful. He doesn't actually inflict it. His unique synergizes with it, and which is why he's shown here. And that means one of our most heavily utilized squads here will be the Captain Enoch squad. This is going to take care of 3 feats with Enoch and Night Trooper in the squad without losing any characters. The squad's going to be very effective at that because of the mechanics of the squad, and then also, of course, the inflicting speed down. You're going to be completed with crit chance down global feat long before you get here. Especially, you can see from how I have this labeled out, we're going to have utilized this squad throughout Sector 1 and Sector 3 already. With Shinhati surviving, our best option is going to be this unaligned force user squad where Sirjunda is going to help keep her alive, but also because Cal Kestis is going to be on the squad, and Cal Kestis has an AoE speed down on top of a basic that inflicts speed down. Now, of course, if that squad isn't going to be effective at keeping her alive, or if you don't have it available, then just play hide the Shinhati for making sure you get through those 10 battles. But another squad to be aware of, and we've mentioned this one already, is Admiral Radis Rogue One AoE speed down infliction. That's why this squad is going to be helpful. It's going to allow you to swap between and retain stamina. Then there's, of course, the Inquisitors. They're very debuff heavy. They're going to have options. They inflict speed down as well and will help work you towards that global feat if you don't happen to be done by then. But you probably will be done with this global feat by Sector 4, and if not by Sector 4, by the end of Sector 4. With our mini-boss, we have win without using Jedi Sith Unaligned Force users and Kylo Ren. You're going to see me use this Jabba squad. This squad will help with the no loss, but it's a GL version of a squad that is going to be able to accomplish that mini-boss without an issue. With Kylo Ren on the mini-boss, that's going to be most easily accomplished under an SLKR team, but if you have a Seer Junda squad and don't have SLKR, which probably not a ton of players, but I happen to be one of them, this is going to be most likely how I take care of that. I'll just be swapping in Kylo into that Merrick location. And with our final boss on Sector 4, we have Huyang surviving and a full squad of Unaligned Force users. Unaligned Force users, we have two options. We have Third Sister with the Inquisitors. We also have that Seer Junda squad again. With Huyang surviving, we can either try and give Sortie a go, because Sortie, if he works or if she works, that has a inflict speed down as well. Otherwise, we'll just play hide the Huyang in this Shinhati slot. Our Sector 5 feats, critical damage up 50 times, win 10 with Imperial Remnants, win 10 with Elsbeth and Great Mother surviving, and evade 100 attacks in battles that are won. A critical damage up is super easy because a ton of characters grant critical damage up, so it's going to happen on its own pretty quickly, but we want to be as efficient as possible. And to do it efficiently, we can look at, again, the Captain Enoch Imperial Remnant squad, which will take care of two of those feats, where Enoch grants an AoE critical damage up as long as you target somebody with Blight, which means Night Trooper needs to be there to make sure Blight is out on the field, but we can also slot in Scout Trooper into one of these slots, who also grants critical damage ups. That will be 2 AoE critical damage ups that'll get us very quickly through here, but stamina will be an issue because we just depleted a bunch of stamina on this squad during Sector 4, which means we can also look at the other Imperial Remnant squad where Zerg with Scout Trooper is going to be able to make a ton of progress here as well. This may turn out to be the better option, and then maybe the second half of the day switch to Enoch after he's recovered some stamina. We can also look at Unaligned Force users, where this Seer Junda squad with Shinhati can do a little bit of work. Shinhati does grant it to herself, but we can look at a Dark Side Inquisitor squad, where this squad does have critical damage up as well. Also can do a little bit of dodging with Seventh Sister granting Foresight. Our next most efficient squad that we'll be heavily using during this sector is going to be this JML squad with Grandmaster Yoda. This is also going to work for the mini-boss, which is no attacker, but Yoda is going to spread out an AoE crit damage up along with that Foresight, and Foresight is just an evade. Going to want to use this up against squads that have a lot of AoE attacks though, just to make things a little bit faster. Now the last squad, again the Great Mother squad, will be relying on this, but Spirit also does Foresight, so this squad will be able to help out on evasion a little bit. I just wouldn't rely on it because it's just a single character. That's not going to be super reliable, but when you have to do 100, every little bit helps. Unfortunately, this can't stack up with crit damage up as well. Now the mini boss we just alluded to very quickly with this JML squad, this is no attacker, also going to be helping out with those sector feats, and that with that other mini boss feat with Shinhati surviving, we can look at this JML squad, but check back during the week when I do these day by day videos for each sector just to make sure that all these things work. If it turns out this squad doesn't work, I'll be showing one that does work during those daily videos as we break down each sector. And then our final boss, light side characters in Balin Skull. Balin Skull I'm not going to have access to, so we're not going to deal with that. I'm free to play. This is my approach. Maybe by the final month we'll have Balin Skull unlocked depending on when he returns. Light side units though will have a ton of options. Maybe we can look at using this JML squad again. Otherwise we'll be looking at various GL squads, whether it be JMK or Leia, or it'll just depend on what kind of mechanics we'll be seeing from that final final boss. So we will wrap it up there. Check back again for those sector by sector videos that we'll release each day during the week during this new conquest. Thank you for watching. Be excellent to each other, everybody. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.